Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Film Nerds Hour.
Keep laughing. That was funny. Hi.
We recorded a blooper. Now, as you can tell by the title of the video, this is Godzilla vs. Kong.
Whoa! Been waiting like 2 years for this. Sorry it's not coming as early as we promised in the Godzilla King of Monsters video, but life happened.
Yeah, unfortunately. But hey, we did it now. We got to it, so
it's
you guys
here.
can listen to it.
Yes, give us views so we can make money. Kidding.
Now, there is a bunch of references in this movie as well to not only the Godzilla movies, but other movies opposed from that. So that's pretty cool as well.
Definitely check out this movie before we start talking about it. If you have a subscription to HBO Max,
it'll be free for you at no extra cost.
Till April 30th.
Yes, and for those of you who do not, this is definitely a movie that was made for theaters. So
fantastic.
You would not be missing anything by not seeing it for free.
Yeah.
In fact, I would actually encourage you, because I'm thinking about possibly booking a showtime to go see it in theaters, because it's definitely something you could see in IMAX. The neon effects that they have in here, the neon color scheme, is absolutely great.
Freaking explosions, and it's just a white screen, and you're like, whoa, yeah. Definitely serves a bigger screen, for sure.
Yes, and as the YouTube official trailer art shows, it is definitely up there. It's definitely that good. So
yeah. Stellar cast. Amazing cast.
Yeah, they did do very well for the casting. I was very pleased with that.
We got some returning. Do we do returning members first?
Yes, we did get Millie Bobby Brown back as Madison Russell.
Yep, we got
as well as
Kyle Chandler as Mark Russell,
the dad. And then we did get, I don't even know what scene it is because it was so minor and it was really stupid. This movie underwent a lot of edits.
Dr.
The final project is still really good, yeah.
She wasn't actually in it.
Or no, Dr. Gillerman.
Gillerman?
Yeah, who was played by Lance Reddick.
Lance Reddick. Oh, was he in the previous ones?
Yeah, he was in, I believe he was in King of the Monsters, but his role was short in that too. And he was supposed to be the pickup for the guy from the 1970s in Kong Skull Island. I believe he was in King of the Monsters, if I remember right. He made like a very, very, very brief cameo, same as this one. I don't know if he'll be credited as it, though, because it was so freaking brief, and people would know him more from this. But he is also the guy who was in the John Wick movies as the
bellhop, or the front door guy, or the desk. He worked the desk.
He was, the greeter at the Continental, so.
Yeah. A lot of newcomers, though. We got Alexander Skarsgård as Dr. Nathaniel. What's that last name? I can't say that.
Let me check. Dr. Nathaniel Lind.
Lind? Okay.
Lind.
Okay.
So, we got him, which...
It's a Skarsgård. He knows how to act. He's really good.
That's all I kind of had to say about him. I wasn't blown away by his performance. He just kind of was there to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like you could have cast somebody else, honestly.
I really, yeah.
It's kind of seemed like a waste of his talents just being a Skarsgård. It felt like they just kind of had Skarsgård because they're like, oh, look at his face. He looks like he might be good.
Yeah. I feel, you know whose performance I did prefer, actually? Rebecca Hall as Lillian Andrews.
Yeah, she was okay.
Her and Kaylee Hoddle as Gia. They had a good chemistry.
Who I believe... she's deaf in real life.
She is. That is confirmed.
Which is also cool because that kind of relates, and I'm glad they're kind of incorporating that because in John Krasinski, he did A Quiet Place, which we did as my birthday episode a while back, and he worked with, he chose to cast Millicent Simmons as a Reagan Abbott, and she's also deaf. So that was pretty cool too.
Yep. We got, in no particular order I'm reading these, by the way, Demian Bichir, I hope I'm saying that right, as Walter Simmons, and Izia Gonzalez as his daughter, Maya Simmons. And they're kind of like seedy organization, cybernetic thing.
They're essentially what Alistair Smythe is for you, the guys who know the comics, who does like the robotics. So Oscorp, but if they were to do more robotics, essentially.
Yeah. And we got Shin Oguri as Ren Shirazawa, and I want to talk about him for a bit because I feel like his story arc was definitely
ripped out.
Cut. Yeah, for sure. It's very obvious.
What I see now, I'm not really a fan of what this director did, which is Adam Wingard. I really wasn't a fan of anything he did with this movie in terms of post. The final product is definitively great. It is great. There's a lot of action,
but I feel like the things that he said needed to be cut because they didn't serve any purpose. Something feels like it's missing.
He came out and said several times in interviews that it went through 3 to 4 major changes in the script.
Because the Toho rights are kind of up in the air, so they don't know if they're getting a sequel.
Well,
that's essentially it.
This was, well, I think that's part of it, but also he just felt like it was too long of a movie, and it's like, but you should take the advantage of making a long movie that's going to be your last one.
I will say it's not even 2 hours. I don't feel like.
No, and it's 1 hour and 53 minutes, and by the end, really, the movie itself is about 1 hour and 46 minutes.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel that long, personally. I could do with another hour.
And I was really dissatisfied with the fact that it was such a low movie. I mean, the only thing that he's really done, it looks like, is She Dies Tomorrow, which I've heard is good, and I want to watch that. That's one thing I was hoping that we can eventually do, but it looks like he only had an executive
producer credit? He's never directed before, huh?
No, because I think the only thing that he's come close to doing was VHS 1 and 2, because he had a role in those. In those movies as one of the shorts, which, again, those are great little things. And the ABCs of Death. The only thing that he's really done that gives him a credit to his name was Blair Witch, which is, we're talking about... Not the Blair Witch Project, the 2016, which is the third in the series. Still better than the second one.
Well, that's not difficult, Noah. That's not difficult at all.
And...
I could film a piece of animal crap for 5 minutes. That's still better than the sequel to Blair Witch.
Yeah, I mean, he also did You're Next.
Oh,
so he's got a bit of credibility for that.
I was going to say the style
American
seems familiar.
Death Note. I'm double checking on that.
Oh,
yeah, he did the American Death Note. So that was the only thing that was
a
good
movie. That's all I can say about that one for sure.
It looked kind of stupid, and I only watched the trailer and had an interest because Willem Dafoe
actors are great in it. I'm just saying the story kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Feels American.
Yeah. And then he did A Horrible Way to Die in 2010, which is basically the synopsis of that is an escape killer goes on a rampage while pursuing his ex-girlfriend who fled to start a new life. So, I mean, it sounds interesting. It looks like it got decent ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. It stands at 60, so, I mean, not terrible. In terms of audience, it got 35, so...
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he has a lot, and it seems like most of his stuff that he's had success in has been horror-based.
Yeah, it just seems weird to go, like, take a director who seems very rooted in horror and be like, here's a kaiju movie, you know?
Yeah, well, and the other thing that he's done was a comedy called Autoerotic.
Yeah,
which is 4 interconnected couples in Chicago investigate boundaries of sexual exploration for self-pleasure, which got a whopping 30% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and a whopping 15% for the audience score. So,
okay.
And he also directed this with Joe Swansburg, who I also believe had a ring in the VHS films as well, directing them, but I could be wrong.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, yeah. So, this movie, it's very clear. It went through a lot of, this was not cut one, that's for sure. But I still enjoyed it a lot.
I still enjoyed it a lot for what it was. I was ultimately disappointed that it was not longer because it felt like there was a lot that needed to be done, and it was not, and it should have been brought to light. There should have been more time and more fleshing out of the characters.
One issue I had with the last movie we reviewed in this series, Godzilla, King of Monsters, the comedy was, from my personal experience, it felt way too forced. You know, there was just a lot of comedy that took away from very dramatic moments.
There was comedy in this movie?
There was comedy, but, like, not overly.
I didn't even notice it.
Yes, there was. I'm used to pirating movies online. Oh, I wanted to hear the rest of that speech.
Oh, see, it's not as memorable for me. It was kind of just inserted in there. It was like
most of the comedy is either awkward physical comedy from Alexander Skarsgård and, like... Because it's very apparent. I'm not sure if he knows how to talk to people because he's been in his weird basement, like, office in a university for years because his book didn't do well. But a lot of the like verbal joke comedy comes from two cast members, which I feel ashamed that we haven't mentioned yet. Julian Dennison, who plays Josh Valentine, who you would probably know from Deadpool 2.
As Fire Fist.
Yes, Fire Fist.
Which is a very nice pace and change for him
Russell.
because, you know, his weight in it is so much better.
Yes. Really, yeah, for sure. He was also in A Hunt for the Wilder People. That movie's hilarious.
I think it's The Wilder People.
The Wilder People.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
But that was directed by Taika Waititi, which is
he plays
also
the
great.
priest. Yeah.
He was also in the Christmas Chronicles too, apparently too.
Oh yes, I have seen that. He's actually great in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I want to do that. Both are on Netflix.
Yeah, watch those for sure, dude.
And come on, Kurt Russell is Santa. Santa? You can't go wrong with that.
As jazz saxophone playing Santa with sunglasses.
And you can't get wrong with his little fun laughs.
No, you really can't. And we also got Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hayes. And I love Brian Tyree Henry. He does so much great stuff. I know him primarily from his show Atlanta, which is Donald Glover, Childish Gambino's show. Amazing show. Him and Lakeith Stanfield.
Was he in Us as well? No, he was in Child's Play. He played Detective.
Yeah. He's the detective in Child's Play. He's great in that.
Mike Hannigan, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Because I thought that was his name, and I loved him in that role. Mike Norris is what they changed it to in here.
Yeah. Hannigan was the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is he in?
He's in Don't Let Go, which is something I wanted to see. If Beale Street Could Talk, Widows. Yep. He's in the upcoming Eternals. That's right.
Eternals, yeah.
He also played Into the Spider-Verse. Who did he play? I want to say it was Dad. Yeah, I was going to say he played
Miles' dad.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
And he plays God, what is his character's name? It's been so long.
He was also in Joker and White Boy Rick.
You're right, he was.
And Super Intelligence with Melissa McCarthy, which is an HBO
Super
Max
Intelligence, I actually really liked. That was really funny.
It looked good, and I have to see it. He was also not only in Joker, but Hotel Artemis,
that's yeah, I mean...
Is it kind of like a so-so? It just depends?
It feels like they were trying too hard to make it seem like John Wick-style world. And I was like, okay.
Okay, well, it's got like a 58% in critics and 35 in audience scores, so...
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, what do you expect from an hour and 33-minute movie when probably about 4 to 5 of those are probably credits anyway. So you're disregarding that. But... they did get an all-star cast for Godzilla vs. Kong, which is also super great, and I was very excited to see that. But like I said, what I was disappointed in is so many rewrites. You should have just left this be the end game. If it was going to be the end, it was going to be the end. Because for those of you who are also Godzilla fans, you also know about Shin Godzilla, which we did not cover this year.
Which we will next year, I promise.
Yes, definitely.
It's just, we only got 2 months, and next month, or I guess this month it would be, we're doing all classic monster movies, because,
Yeah. Which, it's nice because these are all shared universes, so they kind of included everything, and I think it'll give us a nice thing. Plus, we have the Gamros that we'll eventually cover, and some of the other funny little kaiju movies. Yeah. Except for the North Korea one where they kidnapped a scrreenwriter.
I told you about that, and your expression was priceless to find out. For those of you who don't know, here's a little history fact. A big fan of the Godzilla franchise was... well-known, that's better, Chair, North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il. And he loved those movies so much that he had some North Korean agents go into South Korea, kidnap a director, and under threat of death, I believe it was, make him a Godzilla movie. I have heard it's beyond terrible. And of course I
saw the costume.
Yeah, I showed you that, where it's like Godzilla with horns, and you kind of look like a bull.
I saw one of the things on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Because they just uploaded a video not too long ago.
It's interesting for film history. My condolences go out to whoever, the family of who directed that, because that must have been a horrible experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, there's a reason I think his last name is Il instead of Un.
Yeah. I mean...
very mentally ill.
His first name?
Huh?
His first name.
Oh.
Kim Jong-il.
Yeah, I think Il is definitely...
You said it was his last name. They put it last. That's just how it works.
in any case, still mentally ill in the head.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to get into communism politics on this episode.
But no, for those of you who know Shin Godzilla, you know the deal with Toho, and that Legendary only had 4 movies, but I'm still trying to, and I kind of want to check that right now, because Kong was American owned, and like we were talking about, there was only Toho. They actually had to buy the rights.
Yeah, it was Kong was part of this universe, but I don't think they had to get the... Yeah. Well, this Kong, I mean, Skull Island was a part of the Legendary universe, but I wouldn't think they would have to get the rights, because I don't know if Toho has the rights still. They bought the rights a while ago, but I don't know if they retained them. Because, like, beyond the one time they fought, he never showed up again.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look up. The number of films that were produced by Toho are 32, so there's one interesting fact.
The Godzilla films?
Yeah.
And there are 23 Godzilla movies?
32.
32.
And 36 in total. I'm trying to see...
Godzilla movies? That doesn't seem right. Hold on.
Because the Monsterverse, that's what it's saying, and that comes from...
I'm going to go to Wikipedia.
That's what Wikipedia said, so I don't know if you want to exactly rely on that. So I'm trying to look up now, like, Legendary's deal. Because, like we were talking about earlier, this is technically the last one. Great film.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I wish that they would literally just say what the fucking deal was, not give you this big, complicated, well, it was this, yes, we know there's 4 movies. What happened with Shin Godzilla was that they also had to deal with Toho, and they wanted to make a darker universe because, for those that you will hear soon, this Wednesday, you will hear our review on the original Godzilla movie.
That's where it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. There are technically 32 Japanese Godzilla films, if you include Shin Godzilla and the 3 Netflix 3D animated ones, which I know you haven't seen, and I don't imagine you'll see anytime soon. And then, 4 American ones total.
Okay. Apparently, as well, for anybody, and I don't know if this will be a continuation for Godzilla versus Kong, but in January, an anime-style animated series set within the MonsterVerse titled Skull Island was announced. And it was centered around the adventures of shipwrecked characters. So
I'm excited to see that. And then, we're getting the Godzilla Netflix series this month.
Yeah, but that is going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really pissed off. Why the hell can't they just give a synopsis?
I don't know, man.
Of what the deal was.
Because it's Hollywood stuff, man. It's probably very hush-hush, no matter how minimal it is, unfortunately. Singular Point. Godzilla Singular Point.
I mean, granted, along with Godzilla vs. Kong so far, because this was a great Endgame movie, it's at 1.76 billion for the whole MonsterVerse.
Wow. Do you like how I said it with such enthusiasm? Wow.
I mean, that is pretty good for just a bunch of monsters fighting each other, if you really think about it.
I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds... I don't know.
Well,
when you say it like that, it sounds childish. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, think about it. Well, I mean, when you look it up, it looks like there might have only been 3 movies that were tied into the deal, because when you look it up, in terms of the Godzilla movies, they just put the Godzilla King of the Monsters and versus Kong.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in any case,
yeah, let's jump into the review and synopsis part of the show.
Which, for those who had a keen eye, already knew that Mechagodzilla was going to be in this movie.
Yeah, besides the fact that they teased it in the trailer. And by teased it, I mean straight up showed it.
Yeah, so everybody that was so pissed off, like, oh, people are speculating too much. Yeah, it was pretty obvious. There's literally a full-on shot right there,
Yep.
within the first
There
literally 6-7 seconds of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how butthurt everybody got though about, how everybody was going to spoil the movie because they got their theories, and I'm like, well,
don't count your chickens, man.
I kind of want to go beat for beat by this, but I also kind of want to explain some of the other stuff.
We can explain them in between. That's what we usually do.
Yeah, that is true. I did want to say something too, kind of about Mechagodzilla, because I do have a bit of disappointment with that.
We will have a chat. Yeah, for sure.
It was very disappointing and underwhelming, and it shouldn't have been the way it played out. And they would have been better just adding a subplot into there that wouldn't have made it better, but at least would have made more sense.
Yeah, if they just had a submissive plot. Okay, so full spoilers ahead for Godzilla vs. Kong. Either plug your ears till the end of the video, which would be weird, or go on HBO Max if you got it, watch it.
Or go to your local theater because they need support. Don't bullshit your way out of that.
Yes, and wear a mask. Dang it. Anyway, we are starting off. We hear. I think. Do we start off? We start off with Kong. That's right. He's on his island.
Yeah.
And he's kind of walking around. We got some great music. I swear, anytime Godzilla's in a movie, we got a great soundtrack.
You mean Kong?
Kong. Sorry. Every time Kong's in a movie, we got a great soundtrack. But he's walking around on his island, kind of doing his daily routine, showering, whatever. He picks up a tree and, takes the branches off like he did in Skull Island. And there's a little girl that comes up to him with, a twigged version of him. She made a little doll out of trees and leaves. And I'm like, that's adorable. Then he throws it and reveals that he is in a dome on Skull Island. And the reason for that is the storm that enveloped the island in Skull Island. It moved more inland and killed all the native inhabitants minus this little girl.
Yeah, which is very sad.
Yeah, it seems weird to me. That's just how it happened. And I'm like, what?
And you'd think because they're smart that they would have moved, I don't know, inland?
Yeah, well, it covered the whole island, I guess.
I still feel like they would have found caves or anything.
Yeah, I mean, they've been there for thousands and thousands of years.
And they know that there's obviously a storm rolling in. And you're really telling me a storm... They could probably tell it was moving in, yeah. You're telling me a storm wiped them out, but not the giant-ass skull crawlers that have been terrorizing the island?
No, because Kong killed all of them.
Well, the babies were probably still there, but more terrified. He killed the queen. I don't think he killed all of them.
Yeah, once you kill the queen, everybody else leaves. It's kind of a...
That's true.
Spoken thing. But we see him, and he destroys the thing, and we find out it's a Monarch outpost now, and they're saying he's getting too big for it. We got to move him. And she's like, the second he leaves this island, Godzilla's going to be after him because they have ancient stuff that says that there was a rivalry between their two species, and it can't be two Alpha Titans. We get the awesome opening credits. I'll give you a minute to gush over those.
Yeah, those were very great, kind of giving the depictions of the two Titans coming together to battle it out. I think we got one for the Japanese culture too, which gave him more of a dragon-looking face, which is kind of interesting. The thing I really liked about what they really focus on in the MonsterVerse is giving these characters their due by showing every single fake newspaper article to catch you up on what the discoveries are.
Yeah.
And with the years set in between. Like for Godzilla, it was in the very first 2014 version, it really caught up to speed. This is what was happening without showing it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Kong Skull Island, with a little bit of the mysteriousness of all these monsters and speculations, from Randa's perspective. Mm-hmm. And then King of the Monsters did as well, of what Godzilla and them have been doing since then.
You alright? You good?
And then, hiccups. And then Godzilla vs. Kong gave us a synopsis of everything coming up to that point, which was cool. And then we get this very awesome ass, which I think they used at the end of their trailer, but updated it to make it shine. The very awesome ass credit opening credit card of Godzilla versus Kong, which is very behold. The lighting was very important in this film, as it was in the trailer and on the poster.
Yep.
So I would love to own like 2 or 3 of the posters and just kind of have them hung up because they are great.
They are great, and we see like classic scenes from other movies. Godzilla killing the Mutos via, as it puts, internal combustion,
which is funny.
Yeah, that was great. Him killing King Ghidorah with atomic incineration, as it was called, which that's accurate. Kong killing the Queen Skullcrawler by disembowelment, which is fancy for ripping her tongue out of her mouth. Like, it's just reminding us as an audience, because it's been 2 years since we've been in this world, like, these are badasses. And they don't take shit
from anybody.
They really don't. But then we get Brian Tyree Henry's character, Bernie Hayes, and he's embedded at an Apex facility because he has a podcast, which you said seemed a little sketchy. But I was like, oh, a character I can identify with. Great. My people. He's very clearly like a conspiracy theorist type person. Like, it's addressed in this movie. He makes his own hand sanitizer. He made like a computing chip from a microwave. Like,
he has gone to the survival links.
Showers with bleach so he can't be tracked.
Yeah, he's basically what we call a paranoid or a tinfoil.
A parano, yeah, for sure. I said parano, you filthy people. He doesn't drink tap water because he says there's fluoride in it, and that's how the Nazis controlled people. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting, man. We find out later on he also carries a flask and a gun holder on himself. But it was his wife, who died, unfortunately. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how it happened. I'm like, you're like Murray in Stranger Things.
You just kind of lost it.
Yeah, you just kind of... You lost somebody very, very important to you, and you just didn't know what to do.
Which I kind of forget who Murray is in Stranger Things.
He's the bald reporter dude.
Oh. I would have said he's more relatable to Hopper.
Yeah, well, Hopper didn't really ever, like, lose it that much. He was still, like...
He was sane because he had his job, because his mind was being kept busy.
Murray, in the Stranger Things, I think, extended comics, or no, actually, I think the actor alluded to it being a plot point for his character, that he was a whistleblower for the New York Times or something, and because of it, he lost his job, his house, and his wife left him. So it's like, oh, you snapped. Got it.
Well, I'll have to read it, because I do have Suspicious Minds, and I also need to put that one book on hold somewhere of Hopper story.
It's good stuff.
Those are always fun.
It's good stuff. But, regardless, he kind of, quote-unquote, starts hacking into the mainframe, as I call it, which is what I call anyone who puts a thumb drive and starts downloading anything. And he's like, this might be my last show. And I know I said that the episode before, but I'm serious. I'm not a whistleblower. I'm opening the floodgates, like all this kind of stuff. And when they start evacuating, because Godzilla shows up and starts attacking the facility.
Which, you understand
red flag,
later.
Red flag. Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, Godzilla is really only attacked in this universe compared to, obviously with Toho starting off as depicting him as the pro-antagonist monster that just goes on a destructive rampage. Godzilla really doesn't have a reason to attack humans and coexists and coincides with them.
So the fact that he's just attacking this Apex facility...
specific place should be a big no to, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing in there?
Exactly. And he goes underground because he follows these other people who go underground instead of evacuating. And he sees a giant, like, it's a circle with lights in it. So I'm like, it looks like just a giant eye. And, yeah. And then we jump back because, let's see. Walter Simmons and Ren Serizawa, they leave the facility via a helicopter. Ren has a long stare with Godzilla, which is setting up, him hating him. Because, in his perspective, at least that's our guess anyway, it's not really ever addressed in this movie.
That was something that they also cut that they thought would be a brilliant idea, by the way.
No, we need to know. Just because his last name is Serizawa, that doesn't,
Oh, great! It's a Sarazawa.
gotta-
Maybe explain the hatred because his father hated him. It'd be
I
like
want a scene with him impassionately explaining why he's creating a robot to kill Godzilla.
Or hell, you could have even just had a final moment from somewhere in King of Monsters where his father was more interested in Godzilla.
Yeah, like a flashback with him as a kid, or
not meaning to neglect him. He was just fascinated because him as a kid didn't understand that his father was fascinated with the fact that Godzilla was the savior of Earth.
Yeah, like in the 2014 Godzilla, how what is his name? How the main character, his dad missed his birthday thing. Ford, yeah. The main character, his dad, played by Bryan Cranston, missed his birthday thing because he needed to work more at the nuclear facility. Like, if you could have something like that, where Sarazawa's dad left so he couldn't celebrate his birthday, like he left to do Godzilla stuff or work for Monarch and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Sarazawa obviously had an obsession with Godzilla.
He loved him. He called him old friend as he voluntarily died to save his life. Like, he loved him.
He realized
he had a
that
bond.
He was the one person who never meant humans toward ill will, but he also understood that, he's the one person that you have to connect with these beings, not just...
They're animals. They're not monsters. They're animals.
They're animals. They're also just titans. They're just beasts. They're beings that walk the earth and are trying to adjust to a new age where, what the hell? There's just a bunch of mini other beings here. What's happening?
And also we need to address Apex was the name of the terrorist organization that kidnapped Emma Russell. And now they're an electronics company. And no one thinks it's suspicious that they have the same name. Like, no one wants to talk about that?
Or the fact that the government would have said, no, sorry, publicity reasons.
Yeah, seriously. Like, pick a different name.
Yeah. Which, again, this movie is great. Don't let us downplay it.
Yeah, no.
Really watching this movie.
We still love this movie.
It's a very solid movie.
Visually amazing. We're about to get to a fight with Godzilla and Kong, and you have no idea how happy I am.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we, one of the things I also mentioned too, if you really guys think about it, the only reason Kong won in King Kong versus Godzilla was for one reason. It was the fact that America needed them to win, so that way they could market it to the audience.
We'll give you the rights, but he needs to win.
Exactly.
And Godzilla won it first, but then lightning struck from the heavens, and I was like, the fuck is this?
That's why I said, that's why I always say, King Kong did not win.
Yeah.
Godzilla won in that movie.
Hey, at the end of the day, as you can see by numbers in that movie, money won.
Well, yeah.
Like, that was the true winner. But so we meet Nathan Lind, who he wrote a book on the Hollow Earth theory, because Simmons and Sarazawa they're supporting his theory that there could be a viable energy source in the Hollow Earth, because it's ancient. Who knows what's down there? And apparently his brother tried to go down there, but the change in gravity crushed their ship. So I'm like, that's terrifying. So they're like, well, we made a ship that'll be okay with the gravity, like this super technology. And it's like, okay, cool. So we'll do it, but we'll need a Titan to kind of be our guide. So he gets the idea to get Kong. And Rebecca Hall's character, Ilian, she's all for it because she knows that they got to move Kong at some point. So might as well get money for it, I suppose. So they put him on this big boat, sedate him. Everybody's there, and they're kind of bringing him to the Antarctic.
Yeah, which wasn't exactly the smartest idea, because, you are taking him from his home and then trying to...
Via water as well.
Yeah.
Because you know who swims in the water.
Yeah, which is one of the things that they specifically state, that they're trying to keep him away from
Godzilla. Because they explicitly say that they've mapped Godzilla's pathways and they're moving around them.
Which literally what they could have done is, I don't know, maybe done the brilliant thing of putting him in a helicopter.
Oh, yeah, later. They do that later. in a way.
Yeah, which wasn't.
It's a nod to how he got carried over with balloons in the original. To which I was like, what is happening right now? Giant yellow balloons are carrying King Kong towards Godzilla. What is this? But yeah, and then we meet Maya Simmons, Walter's daughter, and she's basically, as she puts it, she's babysitting. She's overseeing everything, making sure everything, goes where it's supposed to go. We get another moment with Gia and Kong, and we find out he can speak sign language. He says home. He signs home. To which I'm like, you were very like, why do they all think it's amazing? No, dude, it's amazing. Okay. The idea that the kaiju are processing human language, it's pretty amazing.
I mean,
Titans, sorry, but
they found a way to communicate. The only thing that's really amazing about it, in the slightest, is that they can communicate in human language, but they've already found a way to communicate with them because they did that.
Kind of with the orca, but basically all they've known to do with the orca is more control than communication. Calm down, attack. I'm stronger than you, like that kind of stuff. But in this, they're actually like saying things. Like he signs home, and I was like, what? Like, it's just like Coco, the gorilla. But I was impressed by it. I don't know why you're so numb to no, but
I just because
go on.
The natives found a way to communicate with Godzilla.
Or
I mean King Kong.
No, they didn't.
Or they know of his existence. They knew enough that he was protecting them. So it's kind of just like...
It was more like he understood that they live there too, and they're not hurting him, so he won't hurt them.
And you would think that John C. Reilly, or literally the fact that they've kind of found a way to communicate with him, Brie Larson's character, whatever the fuck her name was, Mason something.
Yeah.
Kind of found a way to communicate with him, so you would have thought that they would have probably, said that when they came back to Monarch,
Monarch. Well, I mean, it's more compelling. Like, it wouldn't make sense that he wouldn't have known how to communicate with them because he was using sign language. He probably learned it from Gia. She probably learned it from Ilion.
Either way.
Anyways, yeah, that happens during the storm that we get, and then we jump back to Madison. She's upset, and she knows that like there's something else provoking Godzilla. Like, he wouldn't just attack outright. Her dad is like, no, animals change. He's probably just angry now. And it's like, no, there's something else. So her and Josh go on a road trip to see Bernie. And they find him because the storekeeper, it's a great cameo by Ronnie Chang, a great comedian. He gives him the address, and he wants to speak with him because she's Emma Russell's daughter. He tells him all this stuff about Sarah and like all of his theories on Apex and this stuff, and he takes him where he was last night, but the eye is gone. So then they decide to go down this elevator to sublevel 32, I believe it is. And you pointed out the neon lighting is beautiful, which I agree.
Yeah, the color palette that they chose for this in their editing process was very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Very good. But they sneak aboard this cargo thing that's holding skullcrawler eggs. To which I'm like, the frick? And then that cargo gets shot to Hong Kong subterraneanly. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Someone pointed out, it's a very interesting leap in technology we've had from these shows, from these movies. Because think about it, 2014 Godzilla, normal technology, right? Then 2017 Godzilla, we kind of got a little better with that airship, that base that they were all on.
Right.
And then now we've got like hovercrafts and subterranean subways that use anti-grav to move, and I'm like, what's going on?
I mean, ask any conspiracy theorist that really the government's been hiding all that all along.
Right, but there's a reason they're conspiracy theorists and not conspiracy
We're not going into that right now, though.
Yeah. How they're incorrect, you're right, we're not. No. So, I can see your face. We go back to Team Kong, and Godzilla shows up, and just kind of swims through a ship. And I'm like, okay, this is bad.
Well, yeah.
And they start shooting at him, and I'm like, guys, this is totally gonna work. You're right.
Which, I get it. Everybody has to try. But again, it's like, why don't you use your fucking heads a little bit?
Yeah.
He's in water.
They're coming.
Water.
They're coming after Kong, and Mia gives the very poignant, or Maya gives the very poignant suggestion of drop the monkey, to which I'm like, it's not a monkey, it's an ape, first of all.
When me and my dad watched this movie, that was one of the things that bothered me tenfold every single time.
She mentioned
the monkey.
I think that's the point, is like she's,
dumb.
Yeah.
Very dumb.
She's not invested in Kong. But we get an amazing fight with Godzilla and Kong, where it's just like Godzilla drags the whole ship underwater. They let Kong go. He gets on another ship and jumps from ship to ship, starts throwing stuff at him, and then they're fighting on an aircraft carrier. And I was like, this is what I've wanted for my entire life. This is incredible. Godzilla shoots a beam and splits the aircraft carrier in half, and it's huge, and then Kong gets almost strangled to death underwater and dragged and drowned, and then they shoot like...
There is a reference also to Jaws in there, let's not forget that.
Yeah, I pointed that out to you. Yeah.
Which,
where Godzilla gets half of a ship stuck to him, so when he dives down, you see the ship go down. And submerged completely.
Which is something that I kind of pointed out to my dad when I first watched the movie. Because I was like, that seems like a barrel.
Yeah, that's like reference. A Jaws barrel. It looks like a barrel. Yeah, and then he gets back on the ship, and they're like, oh, no, they use depth charges to disorient Godzilla. Way to not use those earlier, guys. And then Kong gets back on his original ship, and they decide to turn off the engines to play dead, to which you were like, Godzilla seems smarter than this.
He just found it probably as a submissive way. If they're going to stop, then they're not really an immediate threat to me.
He probably thought them turning off the engines, he might have thought like, oh, I don't need to fight Kong anymore. He's out in the middle of the ocean. He's just going to die.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It was like, he's going to die, but I can also be... they're probably submitting, so why would I waste my time?
Exactly. But then they decide to airlift him with some helicopters and a giant net. Where the heck they got that? I don't know. But they bring him to the Arctic.
Yeah.
And we
they make several comments about how he can't survive there, and it's like,
snow.
No shit.
Yeah.
You took him off an exotic island. Do you really think that he's meant to be in a cold climate?
He even picks up snow and is like, the frick is this? But then Gia convinces him to go down the tunnel to the Hollow Earth. She's saying there might be other of him there, so he starts going and running. And then they all get in the heaves, which are the Hollow Earth vehicle something. I don't know, but it makes sense. But they look a lot like the later 80s Godzilla movies, like ships that characters would use. Because there's a lot of future tech in those 80s and 90s Godzilla movies.
Which you would think that they would find a way to accelerate, because...
I mean, they got attacked by aliens. They probably reverse engineered some stuff.
Well, also thinking beyond that, too, it's kind of like, how do you end up stopping, literally gods from destroying our city every couple of years?
Exactly. It's kind of like, I hate to bring up this movie because it was very bad, but the second Independence Day, how they reverse engineered the alien tech to make their tech better.
Which, J.J. Abrams should have taken a little hint for The Force Awakens. They still have the Death Star plans.
Exactly. Seriously. But he starts running down this, chasm and starts swinging through these caves, and they're following him in the heaves. And then they go through this, acid trip. It almost looks like the Doctor Strange portal.
Yeah.
And Kong starts falling down it. And they're flying, and it looks. You know what it reminded me of? this would have been a while ago on the channel, one of our first videos. Do you remember Black Hole? When they entered the Black Hole? That's what their faces reminded me of.
Yeah, the very discomfort of, holy shit, this is
hell. Yeah.
It's like, buckle up, kiddies. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, he hands her a bag. What's this for? The vomit? What? It's like, yeah, you're as you put it,
changing your whole anatomy.
We're about to travel 1,000 miles in 2 minutes, and the complete force of gravity is going to shift.
It's essentially going to kind of rearrange your essence, but...
And we see that because they fly up, and then they just drop. And it's really cool looking. And then they get attacked by... What were those flying cobras? What were those things?
I don't know. They had a video kind of explaining the Titans of Middle Earth and...
Hollow Earth.
Or Hollow Earth.
You keep saying the Titans of Middle Earth, and I'm imagining Gandalf showing up.
I mean, he could be, for all we know.
Who knows? Maybe that's where him and the Balrog fell.
I mean...
Would make sense. Maybe the Balrog was a Titan.
I mean, it was pretty hollow with water in there, so...
Anyway. Yeah, it was. You're right. But they, Kong kills these two things after one almost constricts him to death, and then he tears its head off and sucks the juice out of his head. And I was like, that's gross, but that is Kong. Like, he would 100% do that. And then he, like, goes to the top of this cliff, and then we see these crawdad crab creatures that blend in with the ground. It's a lot of cool, this ecosystem is interesting. I would like to see more of Hollow Earth, is what I'm saying.
Which hopefully they'll get a chance to do, because it really is a fascinating...
Mm-hmm. Fascinating environment.
Yeah.
Because he goes to the top of this cliff, and then you see gravity's kind of stopped. And then he jumps and then goes to the other side. Because gravity sort of shifts, so now he's on the other side. And there's like a giant hand, and he like puts his hand on the red hand. And then he goes into this throne room looking joint where it's got like a tool with Godzilla's plate in it as an axe. And he pulls that out. And there's like a throne that he sits on. And I was like, oh, the king is home. You know, like... It was pretty amazing.
It is nice to realize that he finally got to see where his origins were. So, I mean, that's where the plus side comes out of.
It was very nice.
Them uprooting him from his home.
Then we jump back to Team Godzilla. They finally land in Hong Kong.
Before we get into that, though, there is a very big question to ask, and that was something that I was curious about. And the big question to ask about that is, when did Kong's parents and his people find a way to either leave Hollow Earth
and get to Skull Island,
or vice versa, because his people had to have migrated there in some way?
Well, I think they've explained Skull Island just has, due to that storm, it just has the same ecosystem that the Hollow Earth has. Like, because Hollow Earth isn't on the surface, it never adapted and changed like regular Earth did. Like, it even harkens back in the original King Kong. It's a place where God's work, God didn't finish, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that vibe, too, because Skull Island had those giant spiders and those weird, like, T-Rex creatures. Like, it's...
Nothing evolved. Yeah,
exactly.
The V-Rexes.
Yeah, exactly.
In Cameron's version.
Exactly.
Or not Cameron's, Jackson's.
Yep. Like, and I get that vibe, too. So, it's a very... And they did, remember, they did the hollow test, and they find out that it's hollow underneath. So, I feel like it's kind of just a part of Hollow Earth that just kind of sprouted up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, so we go back to Team Godzilla, and they land in the Hong Kong place, and they walk into this room that's, as Bernie says, so massive, because he, like, screams and scares her. It's a very comical moment. But then they see a giant foot, and Bernie refers to it as Robo-Godzilla. To which Julian says, no, that's Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, which, for those of you who are going to be a little butthurt.
Yeah.
Just want to say, there is a very, 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 very big difference between Robo and Mecha.
Yes.
Robo is less intimidating.
Yeah, Mecha is.
And more about just being a robot.
Yeah, a robot is...
Mecha.
Robot's controlled by itself. A mecha is usually controlled by a human.
And is also more made to be intimidating and more of a metal, like a death metal type look to it.
Kind of. I would say
more intimidating.
There's more to it, but yes, I would say that's for the most part.
In terms of looks.
Yeah. But then a skull crawler comes out, way bigger than the Queen was, I should point out. Because Mechagodzilla picks it up and, like, it's freaking about the same arm length. So I'm like, jeez. But we see Ren Serizawa, he's controlling it inside this skull with a headset, and he, like, his eyes go white, and it's like, oh, full synchronization. So I was like, he ripped off Pacific Rim, bravo. Well done.
That was one big thing that I was kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because they obviously had to have seen it. So.
What if Pacific Rim exists in this universe?
It does not.
No. Let me finish. But only as a movie. So they were like, hey, let's do that.
I think they alluded to a fact of an Easter egg of having Pacific Rim in there because they're both owned by Legendary.
Well, like, think about it. Like, if you made movies, if you were in a universe where there were giant monsters running around, wouldn't you logically make a movie where giant monsters are killed by robots? Like, doesn't that seem like a very marketable film?
I mean, they've made that joke all the time in a lot of those universes. Like, take The Boys, for example.
Yeah.
So they knew. What is it? What comic was in Spider-Man? The Ultimate Spider-Man, where they have Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi actually working on the Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
And Peter's not a fan of it, so he's like, when he shows up as Spider-Man, he's like, I don't approve this.
Yeah. Very clever. But then...
I would love to see how they did that, and it'd be hilarious if they were making a Peter Parker story arc still, but nobody knew who Peter Parker was, and he's sitting there just panicking like...
Exactly.
Who's gonna suspect?
Well, I did hear, going back to how Pacific Rim and Godzilla and stuff, they're owned by Legendary, the same company. I did hear that, I guess, somebody who was, like, heading, this whole MonsterVerse thing, he did have a meeting with Guillermo del Toro, apparently. So the rumors say.
The guy who directed this?
No, the guy who, like, heads the MonsterVerse. Like, the guy who's been mapping out, like, what movies we're doing.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too, and it wouldn't surprise me.
And I told my brother about it, and he was like, what the heck does this mean? And I'm like, most likely, Guillermo del Toro's gonna direct the next one that they do if they retain the rights. But the big rumor, which less likely, but would be really cool, is we have a crossover movie. Would not be making any sense, but I'd love to see it.
That's going to be much harder to do because Legendary and Warner Brothers no longer own the rights. Universal will be the ones who produce Legendary. They handed it off because they got Godzilla.
Oh. Well, so, he was talking with him about possibly merge. Like, I just want it. I want it so bad.
If you think about it, that's basically what 2014's Godzilla was.
2014?
Yeah.
It had a plot.
No, I mean, like, in the sense of fighting kaiju. That's what the noodles were.
Let them fight. Aliens. That was the end, yeah. No, I'm just saying I want to fight the whole time.
But see, they can't do that because then they would have to do Godzilla versus Gamera, which is something that's been a long time.
I want that so bad. Make it happen, you cowards.
And you don't get to write the script, Hollywood. You get to put it through a random generator to see who wins and work off that.
No, that's too cruel. It's cruel and worth it, but too cruel.
No, they need to... There has to be an unbiased. It needs to just be not like, this is the poor man's Godzilla. The issue with
doing Godzilla versus Gamera is not a lot of people know what the hell Gamera is.
That's why that is why they released all those limited edition action sets. It's a very good way to advertise it.
To introduce it to a new audience. Yeah.
Yes, with lot of money sales.
How about they make a Gamera solo movie first?
Yeah, but again, they'd have to do the American rights, and that's what they were kind of doing with the reboot trilogy.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, you can't just be like, Godzilla versus Gamera, and expect everyone to know who they should root for.
But do you really think anybody's going to care until they see the source material? They're going to just see Godzilla, and that's enough marketable profit.
Die-Hard fans, yeah.
Die-Hard fans? People are just going to see the name Godzilla and go,
no, Godzilla. No. Yeah. I don't think
Especially kids. They're going to look at a toy and be like,
well, they're gonna
oh,
be like,
shit,
what the
giant
hell?
turtle.
Yeah. I don't think it's that simple personally, but we need to get back to the movie.
Try and make it that simple.
No, it's not that simple.
I said they
not.
try.
Yeah.
And toy sales are good, so at the end of the day, that's kind of all they care
Well,
about.
I wouldn't feel satisfied if they didn't do Skull Island and we just out of no fucking where got Godzilla versus Kong. That'd be making no sense.
It's Hollywood. I'm not saying they should do it that way. I'm just saying.
That they would?
Look at some of the stuff they throw out there.
It would make them way more money if they did Godzilla versus a notable Godzilla villain like Gamera, because more people would know about it.
You're thinking like a fan.
No, I'm thinking logically, because
you're thinking logically.
There's a reason there is the joke that Gamera is the poor man's Godzilla. Like, there's a reason half of his movies were put on the what is it? God, what's that show where the guy and two animated characters rip on movies for an hour and a half?
Reflex?
No, that's what I have in my body.
Mystery
Science Theater. There's a reason his movies were on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like, 4 of his movies have been on there. He's not taken nearly as seriously and has nearly as big of much of a fandom. I love Gamera. I love those movies to death. But I don't think he has as much of an exposure nearly as, say, Godzilla for it to be a marketable thing, as opposed to doing Godzilla versus Biolante.
Which I think still people would kind of be like, huh.
I don't know. I mean, they wouldn't name it Versus, that's for sure. King of the Monsters, they didn't name it Godzilla versus King Ghidorah like they've done before.
Well, it wouldn't have... I don't think it really would have.
It would have to be called, like, Godzilla...
versus the Monsters.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
But even then, it still sounds better like King of the Monsters. It'd be like if they, like...
Godzilla Heavy is the Crown or some bullshit.
It won't be like if you named Godzilla versus Kong, if you would have named this movie Godzilla versus Kong versus... Mechagodzilla versus Mechaghidorah.
I'm saying the only reason it was actually titled Godzilla vs. Kong is because we've already had a Kong movie, so people know who he is, at least more recently.
Yeah, which I kind of like how they still put, instead of doing King Kong versus Godzilla and he still had to earn it, they put Godzilla versus King Kong. Something I meant to say earlier, too.
They did Godzilla versus Kong, but I feel like the reason was because the last one was King Kong versus Godzilla. So they lazily just switched the title.
Well, they also dropped one of the letters.
The King part, yeah.
Because he hadn't earned that yet. And on top of that...
he was the King of Skull Island.
And if you think about that, Godzilla just kicked ass to earn his rank as king.
King of the Monsters, yeah.
Which, that is one other thing. And I know why from, like, animation and story, blah, 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 blah. But where are all the other monsters?
They're hanging out.
They're just hanging out and hiding like, oh god.
Godzilla's not going to be like, hey, I need to fight these guys because they got a mecha monster. Rodan, attack this facility in Tampa.
No, I know that. But like, it makes me wonder if like all the monsters were sitting there like, oh shit.
Do we do something?
Again.
Do we do something? No, he probably, knowing Godzilla and like how these creatures communicate, he was probably like, I got some shit I gotta do. Don't do anything stupid. like I imagine he referred to the other Titans very much like our moms do when they leave to get groceries for 30 minutes. Like, I'll be right back. Don't fuck this up.
See, you're saying it though, like the way you're saying it makes me think of Batman to the Justice League.
Yeah. 100%.
I know how to fuck all of you up, so stay out of my way.
Exactly, essentially. Like
don't make me
come back. Knowing him,
here.
He's probably actually subconsciously very nervous that if he leaves, Rodan's just gonna like start a coup. He's gonna come to the other monsters like, we gotta unionize. There's no king. We need order and a democratic vote. Like, because Rodan was a shit in that last movie. I don't care who you are. He was a piece of shit.
He took out Ghidorah. We must start an uprising.
Yeah. We gotta unionize. I like the idea of a pterodactyl creature that has fire coming out of him, going, we have to unionize.
Maybe we should give Guillermo del Toro just a fuck around rights.
And the mammoth guy's like, no, I'm sleepy. And then Methuselah's like, I need to be dead. And then,
I would pay to see just like a joke.
And the spider guy's like, why am I here? Like, why was I involved in this meeting?
I would honestly pay just to see that. And just see Mothra come in and be like, hey, hey.
She hatches from the egg, and he's like, "Fuck, it's her! We gotta kill her now!"
It's the queen. And Mothra's like,
Get her!
Hey. No.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, shit.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see that movie now.
You know what would be funny? Because it's an egg, it'd be funny if, as punishment for killing her, Godzilla makes Rodan sit on the egg. You have to keep it warm, otherwise you die.
This is your fault. It's
how
your
I
task.
know you're loyal. Now I'm imagining that pterodactyl sitting on a giant egg and just like, nah! Huge ass nest. Yeah, he's still there. How'd he get the egg up there? We don't even know. It's crazy.
Maybe we should convince Guillermo del Toro to do
a funny cartoon series. We'll write it. We'll do it. We have to unionize. Imagine me with pterodactyl wings. We have to unionize.
Now coming in an alternative timeline, the monsters.
Rodan for president?
Rodan and the utilization.
The utilization?
Fuck.
You want to try that again?
Rodan and the unionization of monsters. That seems like a Seth MacFarlane bit from Family Guy.
It really does. Seth MacFarlane, if you're hearing this and you want me to write a bit, I'll take the job.
That would be a fun ass time.
That would be awesome. What would Family Guy, because I'm trying to think, because they're so out there with everything they do, what the heck would their Godzilla joke be? Alright, we need another monster movie to compete with the superhero movies. What do we got? We got the bird thing. Yeah, let's give him a solo. Next.
Well, we got the giant moth with wings. What about her? She's last news.
Yeah, that's what they pre-predicted for the next upcoming monster movies. They're like, Rodan's definitely getting a solo movie. Mothra's getting one. And I'm like, fucking why? Rodan had no personality.
I would just love to see how all the crazy people in Hollywood would be like female power for Mothra.
Well, because it's a big, thanks to the MCU and all that stuff, it's a very big thing of like expanded universe, multiple film series.
Which is funny because they were not the first to come up with that idea.
No,
technically,
see,
Toho.
Universal Monsters.
Universal Monsters and then Toho.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's not a new thing. It's just it's a reoccurring trend. Like, remember when zombie movies left and then came back?
Yeah.
Like, all that kind of stuff.
Well, zombie movies left from
zombie movies, that
late
was a trend.
1990s, mid-1990s.
Young adult post-apocalyptic, that was a huge trend for a while.
Because Night of the Comet, that kind of came in the 80s, kind of faded more in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And then came back about 2016 is when they kind of come out with it. Because they came out with Don't Grow Up, and then what was that Netflix show that I can't remember now that they were in the post-apocalyptic like Mad Max world that never got renewed for a second season.
Oh, are you talking about when they're in the high school?
Yeah,
I loved that show. Broderick. It was very funny. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It didn't get renewed? That's bums.
No, and it doesn't say officially on Google that it's ended, but I don't know.
It's up in the air.
It's going to be
sure.
I
mean, with COVID stuff right now, filming stuff is kind of just out in the wind.
That's why Netflix has been piggybacking on deals like Godzilla, but none of those are going to be shared universes, I don't think.
Yeah, but like young adult post-apocalyptic, that started with Hunger Games, and then we got like Maze Runner and Divergent and all this stuff.
It's coming of age stuff, but we really got
coming of age post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah, it's still true.
Like young teen post-apocalyptic worlds.
But I think that really got kickstarted with Twilight because of the teen phase.
The teen
angst.
Yeah.
And then they kind of were
Twilight had a resurgence for vampire movies. You remember that? Because we got the Johnny Depp Dark Shadows,
which came as a comedy.
Yeah, and then we got they did the Dracula Untold thing.
Yeah, which we'll definitely have to do just an episode where we talk about a bunch of these history things because they're kind of great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But we've been on a tangent for like 20 minutes. We do that, folks.
It's what we call entertainment.
It really is.
Love it.
But we find out they're controlling Mechagodzilla, the interface. It's made with King Ghidorah's skull.
Which,
very
where
metal.
the hell was
very metal.
Was Charles Dance just not... inexpensive enough to bring back, or
I guess.
Oh yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, and then where is he?
Where the fuck is my Charles Dance there, Legendary?
Can we have a post-credit scene where after he buys it, he's homeless, and, and the guy comes by and he's like, "I like your giant monster head. I'll buy it for $30. Sold."
I mean, it's basically what.
Like, I feel like he bought it, and then like his whole military militia terrorist group were like, "Well, he's lost it. We gotta get out of here."
I mean, that's what seems to have happened, because I was sitting there like, what on earth would have been, like, why would he have just disappeared out of thin air?
Well, again, it's the same name, so I feel like they just got a new front man to run the organization. I feel like Charles Dance is probably still around, hopefully. I mean, otherwise they gave up a great actor in this series.
Yeah.
And I feel like the plan was, let's make Mechagodzilla. It'll kill Godzilla, so it'll be top dog. And then we'll just blackmail everybody. Be like, hey, pay us government funding. Otherwise, Mechagodzilla will destroy you. or pay us and we'll sell you your own Mechagodzilla for defense against Titans.
I feel like that would be the key, and they would just kind of do what
because Charles Dance's character, he wanted just to destroy the world.
Yeah, which I essentially think they would have done what Vought did, which is just be like, hey, we'll
merchandise.
We will merchandise and give you this. Well, because that's what they ended up doing with the kaiju in Pacific Rim.
Yeah, because the pilots became celebrities.
Yeah, which is kind of like, same aspect. I think they showed like a couple of times in this, not in this particular movie, but I think in kind of like, King of Monsters, I think they showed that they kind of, like, there was some little stuff in the background that showed that they were kind of doing little monster stuff as well. And I think that's where the Pacific Rim kind of came in.
Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah, we find that out and we see, like, Renser's out in the thing. And this would have been a perfect moment, in my opinion, because it was established in King of Monsters with Dr. Serizawa's joke that, the Russells and the Serizawas, I guess they were around each other enough that Serizawa was making jokes with, Mr. Russell's son. So it's like a thing of like, I would have loved even a moment of her just being like, Ren? Like, and they're like, you know him? Yeah, he's Dr. Serizawa's son. Like, what? Like, even that would have been like...
enough.
Yeah. Or, like, I wanted a confrontation between them of him, because, they have such a connection, he would have still, like, maybe been protective of her. So it would have been pretty good if he had jumped out and been like, Madison, what are you doing here? And then guards came in, hide, over there. Like, because he didn't want her to get hurt. Because he probably, I would imagine age difference, he would probably see her as a little sister. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would just make sense to me. Like, there's a very easy way to make us care about why this guy wants to kill Godzilla so damn bad.
But I mean, again, you're saying it would make sense. I don't think they were thinking for sense when they rewrote the script how many goddamn times.
Exactly. That, like, all sense went out the window and was just focused on the visuals. And while the visuals are stunning, the camera work, cinematography, all of it, and that's why I love this movie still, it's just like there's something... Like, with the story aspect in all of these movies, there's something to be desired. You know what I mean?
Give it a story and focus on both. You can't just give leeway. I mean, that's what kind of was the trade-off with King of the Monsters was, yes.
Yeah. Like, the Toho movie, like, actually made me care about... The Toho movies made me care about the characters.
Yeah, I mean, well, they did... What they did a good job was that post original Godzilla, they made it so that instead of the characters being based around Godzilla, they made it that that Godzilla, the stories of the people around there, just so happened to be ruled in to the destruction of Godzilla. It wasn't strictly about them.
Exactly.
Even with Mothra, it wasn't specifically about the twins and the island that she came from.
Yeah.
Earlier he, but later she. It became a matter of being about Mothra protecting Earth and doing what she did best.
Exactly. Like, you gotta adapt and change, man. But they, while they're checking out the rig, they get taken by security and brought before Simmons, and he explains like, oh, we essentially what we're doing, or no wait, that's later. Let's go back a bit, because when Godzilla gets into Hong Kong, there's a thing around the Kong throne, which is like the lizard thing, and it glows blue, and it's like an energy source, which I felt like it was a way of like, the reason the design looks like that, I felt like it was a way of like reminding the ape inhabitants of Hollow Earth of like, you might be sitting pretty on a throne now, but just be careful for the serpent coiling around you, you know?
Yeah.
Like as a sign of like, one's coming, you know? Which is pretty ingenious. But they used this drone bug thing to extract the coding so they could make it, because the issue with Mechagodzilla is his power source is inadequate. So that's why that was their whole plan initially, was to get it so they could power Mechagodzilla efficiently. So they get the power source, and then they're like, no, you can't do that. And then she gets the idea to point, have everybody point guns at everyone. And here's where they messed up. Some genius thought it'd be a great idea to point a gun at the deaf little girl. Which I'm like, what the hell is the threat there?
Do you feel proud of yourself?
Yeah, like, she's a deaf 7-year-old child. Like, why are you pointing a gun at her? That doesn't even make half sense. And Kong gets pissed. So pissed that he wakes up the weird vulture bats above him.
Yeah, which those were... What the fuck?
Those things just, like, start picking people off. And Mia's like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. And, they're about to kill Nathan and them, but then Godzilla, basically using his beam, drills a hole down to the Hollow Earth, and coincidentally kills them. And they're able to get in the ship, and he, like, roars down it as if to say, come at me, bitch.
She did very good with it.
Yeah, he was calling God... And there's such a beautiful perspective thing, because Godzilla, visually, he's looking down at the Hollow Earth, but because the gravity has shifted, Kong is also looking down at Godzilla, and it's like, wait, who's where? Because I could see Godzilla being above, because, you know, naturally speaking, he would be, but he's on Hong Kong, so maybe they're on the other side, so he would also be looking down. And it's like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's
very confusing, but I love it. I
amazing.
love it so much.
It's very, very, very amazing cinematography that brought this movie to life.
Very great visual cues. But we get the moment you've been waiting for. Mia, after they're in the ship and they're pointedly trying to get out, she's like, shoot the monkey! And then she gets taken by it, and he looks in it.
It's like, hey, bitch.
Hey,
remember me?
I remember someone just like you. This is what happened. And he squeezes it.
And he's also like, bitch, I'm a girl. I'm an ape.
Yeah, but I love how he just, like, squeezes it and just drops it like it's nothing. Like, fucking... And you hear her like, no, 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 no.
Well, I love how they were trying to shoot at him, too, which is like...
It literally... He literally was like... It didn't even hurt him. He was just like...
He's like, bitch, are you serious?
Well, and, like, he wasn't even focused on them. They didn't have to shoot him. They could have just flown around him, probably.
Well, she had to be like her father and just give every bit of ounce of...
She had to be like...
to show superiority.
She had to be like Samuel L. Jackson's character and just be like, shoot him!
It was like, you could have just taken your chance and got away, but whatever you want to do.
Exactly. But he jumps down the hole, and they go with him. He's got his axe, and him and Godzilla throw down for the second time in this film. Freaking fantastic.
Yeah, the battles and the cinematography, I can only imagine how fun it must have been to do the mocap for that.
Oh, so cool.
Andy Serkis must be jealous.
Seriously, I'm sure he would love to be a part of these movies. But Kong, like, he jumps from building to building. He uses the top of a building to deflect a blast, and, like, at a point, and he shoves the, like, hilt of his... Because he understands, like, okay, he's got his breath, let's not do that. So he kind of tries to Peter Jackson Kong, like, rip Godzilla's jaw off, and he's like shutting it and opening it and hitting it and like all this stuff. And
Which
then he shoves the hilt of his axe down his throat, which is indicative of the original one where he shoved a tree down there.
Yeah, and it's funny because he just goes
yeah
in the original, where in this one he's just like shove it in there.
Yeah.
We all have that one friend.
Mm-hmm. Shush. He blocks. He uses his beam to charge up the axe, and you said in a part very similar to Mjolnir and in Infinity War.
No. Stormbreaker versus.
Sorry, nerds. Sorry.
You need to get it right.
I need to get it right,
and you
sweetie.
need to be
I'm
punished
sorry.
if you don't get it right.
Don't say it like that. He like air leaps and just hits him in the face, and after that,
the beam.
Yeah.
It's literally like a literal like the shots.
Yeah.
Are so similar to when Thor. It's like if Thor would have kept
just from a different
Stormbreaker
angle
in his hand.
Yeah. But then Nathan points out, I think Kong wins round 2, to which I was like, yeah, he does. You put him on land, he's gonna win that shit. And then they fight again a little bit. And it seems like for the second, if you notice, Godzilla's kind of like half blind because Kong throws something and he turns his head and then he like attacks him from behind and like Godzilla rams his face into a building, which you laughed at audibly, even though this is the second time you've seen this movie.
Well, it gets funnier every time because it's just like he sits there and he's like, he tries to hit him once, messes, hits his head like a dinosaur, and then proceeds to do it again and tries to headbutt him, goes right into a building. My thing is, how many people were sitting in those buildings just being fucking stupid?
Well, again, I'm sure Godzilla showing up, they were like, Kaiju attack. Kaiju attack. And I imagine in this world, it's kind of like Pacific Rim, where they got the bunkers.
Yeah, because you see the people having a party when Kong shows up, and it's like, or when Godzilla shows up, it's like, that is the time to run, not go, what is that?
Whoa! Instagram!
Because I guarantee, but maybe they deserve to maybe fall out of the building if they're just...
If they're that dumb, maybe.
If they're dumb influencers. What is it, Paradise PD?
Don't diss influencers. You're dissing ourselves.
No. It's that Paradise PD joke where they gave the Paul brothers. They said that, hey, there was an influencer who blew up in that factory too, and it was one of the Paul's third brother.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And it was like, oh my god, they went there, and it was great.
Yeah, but in any case,
fun times, people.
Yeah, fun times. They're fighting. King Kong gets his shoulder popped out of socket by Godzilla,
which is like,
damn.
Okay. Well, he literally grabs his arm with his mouth and just goes womp womp
and just
womp,
throws
womp.
him, and he steps on him, roars in his face. Kong roars back.
Now I have to also ask my friend how they thought about that, because they were like, Godzilla's head is a little too stubby for his body, and I agree with that.
It's very tiny.
It's like a dinosaur.
He doesn't exactly have T-Rex arms like Shin Godzilla, but...
No, but now I gotta ask him, like, what he thought because of the fact that he literally picked him up and tossed him around
physics-wise,
like
how that would work. I don't know, man. Couldn't tell you. But then he leaves because Mechagodzilla, like, he freaking fries Serizawa, like, electrocute him, and, like, a glitch or something happens, and he kills... He kills Simmons mid-speech, which was very funny. He's like, I would like to hear the rest of that. And then he... Gang, gang, gang. To which I was like, oh, okay. That's how you know it's Ghidorah. Because remember, Ghidorah's roar was 3-parted too.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. So that's why Godzilla's like, you! Didn't I kill you already?
Yeah, which I know you thought it was Serizawa.
It would have made sense to me, personally.
And right off the bat, I knew that was Ghidorah, because I'm like, okay, the thing that made it is because, okay, we already knew Serizawa was angry, but what really made it obvious to me that it was Ghidorah was
just its animalistic mentality.
Well, also 2 reasons. They were using his consciousness, and he's otherworldly.
He made neural pathways.
Yeah, he does not follow the natural law of anything on our Earth.
Yeah.
And second, the way he was going so brutal, I don't think Serizawa would have. I think he would have been more.
You don't
strategic.
think he would have killed? Well, I mean,
he would have been more strategic.
Listen, an argument, I do think you are right at this point, probably, but the argument I would still make for that is that the electricity fried his brain, probably when his brain was being transferred into the body of a mech. So he probably wasn't exactly correct here anymore.
No, but I mean, I also look at it as, if you really think about Ghidorah and the battle he put up, he could have kicked Godzilla's ass under one condition. He had frickin' arms to physically combat him.
Dude, it just feels weird to me that he's basically fighting King Ghidorah for the second time. They'll just do what the aliens did, where they control
it would have been much better. Or just have...
still have Serizawa control it.
Or just do, an Ultron.
Ultron?
Just do an Ultron.
Oh, where it
give it a
gains
prime
its own
directive.
Consciousness?
Give it a prime directive.
My logic is undeniable. My logic is undeniable.
Basically, just give it a prime directive.
Human beings
kill Godzilla.
At any cost, yeah. And then it's like, human beings are just as bad as Godzilla, and point out the similarities. Must kill all. Yeah.
It would have made so much more sense, and it would have been so much cooler.
Yeah.
See, it doesn't take that much. That's what I was hoping they were going to do. I was also hoping we were going to get, a cool introduction theme like we did to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which
I knew for a fact we weren't getting swinging jazz music when he showed up, okay? Anyone could have told you that. But I was like, I'll let him have it.
I needed to have the idea, so at least it made me a bit more excited. Even though in the back of my head, I'm like, they're probably not going to do a reprise. No. But it made me more excited. Because I had that idea. You got to admit that at least 500 other people have that idea, and they're probably going to make an edit and find some way to squeeze it in.
500 is not a lot of people.
When it comes to YouTube and making edits...
Obscurity wise, yeah, I guess.
Because look at that one with the WandaVision.
Oh god, we're not bringing that up again. You're gonna go on another tangent. So, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla start fighting, and it's proven very quickly that Mechagodzilla is definitely
brutal and more superior.
They made him better in every way, including his blast post,
which he had in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
Yeah,
that little introduction.
Yeah, I know, buddy. The only way we would have gotten that is if he was wearing Godzilla look-alike skin, but I didn't get that.
I was hoping that they were going to do that. It would have been so much cooler to see that skin melt off and just see how ugly Transformer Decepticon looking he would have been.
But, yeah.
It would have been that much more horrifying, ugh, that's what was under there?
I guess. But then they blow up the Heave on top of King Kong to bring him back, because he was, dying, so they're like, oh, let's give him a jump start by blowing up this giant electrical thing.
We needed an energy source that would power Las Vegas for a week. What's the line?
To explode. But then he comes back, Gia tells him, fight, be careful, that thing's the enemy, not Godzilla, and he, rams his arm into a building and pops it back in. I would love to do a sketch where that's the apartment building I'm living in this movie in Hong Kong.
Giant ape shoulder?
Yeah, it's just well, at least it's all... I see, just everything I own just fall out from the wreckage, and you just see me standing there. Fuck!
I tried so hard!
We were doing so good there, and then he had to ram his arm into me. Jeez. Well, my renter's insurance is covered. Well, there's my dead landlord, so it's not. Shit.
Yeah, I wish
he gets his axe.
I wish they just have some deleted scenes or bonus scenes where they show the fallout of people just going.
There's a person hanging. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's and you just have people that are sitting there oh god, thanks God, my stuff, and then they all just fall simultaneously. It's God damn it, we were so close to victory.
But he pops his shoulder back in, super badass, grabs the axe, and he saves Godzilla right before he gets mutoed, and then Godzilla saves him right before he gets killed. So it's a very oh, you save me, I'll save you thing, and then they fight together, and Mechagodzilla fights them both. Godzilla's down. King Kong's holding his own fairly decently, but he gets him pinned, and he's about to kill him while they're trying to hack into his systems, they get the bright idea, hey, let's pour alcohol onto the computer and it'll short it out.
No. Into the vents of the computer.
Oh.
You got to be technical because, they could have done that from the very get-go.
But literally for a second, he's like, oh, that was weird. But then I guess that was enough time for Godzilla to help.
To charge up Kong's axe where he just goes, bye-bye, right arm.
Bye arm.
Bye-bye, left arm.
Head out and still have the spine.
And yell like a predator did when it rips its head off of its victim.
Seriously, it was awesome.
Somebody's going to do an edit of that.
Someone will. But then he, squares off with Godzilla, drops the axe. What?
I'm just thinking of when Mech and Mechagodzilla are shooting their beams at each other. Yeah. Somebody's going to have to edit the Tony and Rhodey fight where it's like, take the shot, take it.
Yeah. You want to be the war machine? Put it down. Yeah.
Take the shot, take it.
Yeah. But he drops the axe. Godzilla kind of just goes off into the ocean. Madison finds her dad. Tells Josh to shut up, and Bernie's like, I'd love you to be on my podcast. I'd like to know about the Monarch facility in Roswell. And I was like, what the hell kind of tease is this?
Yeah, they were like, let's not tease anything. Yeah, let's also put a giant tease of seeing a conspiracy theorist work with Monarch.
Yeah, and then we get the final scene, which is King Kong running around in Hollow Earth.
Which, this is supposed to be a bonus. This is supposed to be a post-credit scene, which they could have just made work instead of throwing it into the movie, and it would have been still complete. But,
I liked it better this way because I feel like if we didn't do it this way, we wouldn't have had the music to go along with it, which was great. Which is
that was
all
the only
I
exception.
need is the air. Yeah, that was beautiful.
They could have at least put a little roar or something at the end of Kong in them. I mean, they did that with Iron Man at the end of Endgame. They put a little, from when he was first making his iron, they put that little sound clip in there.
Yeah. I don't know.
I want more of a MonsterVerse. Yeah. Toho.
The 2014 director, who I
Gareth
will say,
Edwards.
Gareth Edwards, best director I feel like this series has had, just personally. He did say if he works again, he wants to do a Biolante movie, to which I was like, I don't care how it would work, just shut up and take my money. I really want to see him.
And I
want to see her.
And I want a proper Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla movie.
Oh, like Terror of Mechagodzilla, where he shows up and he's like, I brought a sea dragon to help me. And it's like, what? Or do you want Godzilla against Mechagodzilla with Kiryu and, humans piloting it like it's a frickin' Megazord?
I mean, that would actually be cool. That is something I theoretically, even though it probably would never happen, I would love to do a Godzilla movie, and that was my thought. If you had one person who strained every bit of their body.
Well, I see. It was either
just to operate Mechagodzilla because he just hates Godzilla.
Well, I think it was Godzilla versus. That's what we almost got with Serizawa, but I think it was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 that we had Rodan get fire powers, cause sure, and then he died and pulled kind of a Mothra with in King of Monsters where he gave Godzilla his power. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But I will say, hey, at least Serizawa was not trying to fuck the brain of Ghidorah.
When did that happen?
In Pacific Rim Uprising.
Oh, right. You're still pissed about that, huh?
Why would you be fucking a kaiju brain?
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Well, he didn't really fuck her. He just kind of put on a headset and mind fucked her.
Which is just as bad. Let me fap out to an alien brain while it communicates through headphones.
And that sound, that's Godzilla versus Kong. This hour-and-a-half long review went places, folks.
Yes, but it was definitely...
Fun movie. Great movie.
It was a very fun movie.
I give it a 9.
Definitely worth it.
I give it a 9 for sure.
Yeah, I would still say it's up there with a 9. Lot of errors, but they can be overlooked with the visual effects,
the visuals are stunning,
choreography, and the great acting that each actor delivered. So, well, I mean, also with the actors as well.
Yeah, it's just that. Yeah, again, if we want that 10, we got to get. I know you don't want it, but I want a director's cut with all these story beats that they cut out, because I guess there were a bunch of other actors that were supposed to be in this movie.
There was like three or four major editing changes according to the director, like I said earlier, so it would be very hard to, I think, even make a director's cut at that point.
That footage still exists. Someone can figure it out.
Still it does, but I feel bad for that editor.
They made Blade Runner Final Cut. I think they got this.
That was shorter.
No, it was longer.
Was it? I thought it was shorter.
Yeah, the original Blade Runner.
And
then the director's cut added 5 minutes. The original Blade Runner is garbage. The director's cut with the extra 15 minutes, whatever it is still garbage. The final cut, which is the same as the director's cut, but with 34 more seconds of footage, is an amazing movie.
Okay, and that's what people need to understand. Really, a couple of seconds really makes that difference to make or break understanding one scene.
The original Blade Runner, I was like, this is not Harrison Ford's best work. Director's cut, I'm like, no, we're getting there. Final cut, this is so compelling.
And I'm so glad I didn't have the displeasure of seeing its evolution.
Any of the other cuts?
Yes.
Yeah, you're lucky, man. You're very lucky. I was curious and was like, I want to see all the versions.
See, and I did too, and then I was like, when they kept making jokes in like American Dad and stuff, I was like, oh boy.
We now return to Blade Runner. Final cut.
Yeah, I was like, oh boy.
But
I'm not even going to embark on that journey. So.
Yeah. But, check out this movie on HBO Max if all you've been doing is hearing us spoil it. Yeah, or in theaters.
I definitely say, please go see it in IMAX. It is worth the IMAX experience.
Or, hey, depending, who knows? This might be very far in the future, and you can rent a theater with this movie for $100. That'd be neat.
It would be, if you get the opportunity, like I said.
Yeah, it's worth seeing this movie in theaters for sure. I still, even though I've seen it twice now, would love to see it in theaters for a third time. And if this is that far in the future, hi kids, hope I'm a good dad. Anyways,
fuck off, kiddies.
What?
That's what I have to say to my kids. They'll know what it means.
I love the idea of your 40-year-old son who, like, you passed, and he's like, wow, I found out Dad did podcasts, and he listens to this one first. And he's like, my dead dad just told me to fuck off.
They'll know what it means.
My office job is unfulfilling. Very sad. Thank you for listening to Film Nerds Hour on whatever platform you're listening to.
Whether that be Spotify, YouTube, or Anchor.
Yes.
Or whatever we have it up by the time. Usually it's those main three at the time.
And if you are one of the 20, as of the time of this video, subscribers to YouTube, thank you.
Thank you for your support and the likes. It's very helpful. And
yeah.
You know, while people don't think it is much, it does mean a lot to us, and it does help us out a lot, so...
Thank you for the likes, and to the people who gave us a dislike. You listened to the whole thing anyway, didn't you? Anyway,
you still
you still gave us money. All right.
But also,
YouTube.
Also to the people who have supported the podcast, we did want to say a special thank you, as the video is late for our first year. So
thank you for your patience. We really appreciate that.
And I'll support. It was definitely a crazy, chaotic year last year, but we're glad to be back on track.
We're glad to be here. We're glad you guys stuck around, and I want to be doing this for a long time, especially if, we can do it more.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say.
Not going to rely on a 50th episode, because God knows when that's going to be, so we're just going to aim for 100. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's just aim for triple. Why not? Yeah, and I don't know if it should be up on YouTube by now, but you had a birthday episode for Quiet Place. Check out that one, too. That was great.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be up by now, but if it's not, I'm kind of running the editing process a little bit, so...
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a little occupied, but...
His eyes are beet red, folks. He hasn't slept in days.
To your knowledge. But without further ado, he's been the Thanos Shoemaker.
He's been Noah Sweeto.
It's been Film Nerds Hour. Enjoy and have a great day, everyone.
Have a great month of April, which is also my birthday month. Tune in for my birthday episode at some point. Yay!